What did you dream about when you were little? Yeah, you. What did you want to be? A teacher, a firefighter, a princess? And now, what are you doing with your life? Well, I talk to so many women in their late 50s, even in their 60s and above, who feel like they're ready for something more. But they feel their time has passed and they might not know exactly what that something is. But they know it's out there calling them. Is that you too? Hey there, I'm Jodi Silverman, host of Dare On with Jodi, a recovered print salesperson turned podcast host, community builder, and public speaker. None of this was part of my original plan. I never imagined it was possible, but you had dreams. So you're already a step ahead. And what if I told you it's not too late to become a firefighter or a teacher, or maybe even a filmmaker, TV personality launching a global TV network? What if you could go from being a registered nurse to a licensed contractor, teaching other women how to feel empowered through home improvements? It's all possible, my friend. And I've got a resource linked in the show notes to help you get started. But right now, you are in for such a special treat. This was the 100th episode of Beyond Empty Nest, and it was so powerful. I had to pull it out of our vault to share it with you here on Dare On. So grab a notebook, pop in your earbuds, and get ready to dream again because you are capable of making your dreams come true, no matter your age. And these three women you're about to meet, they have done just that and so much more. And they're ready to support you and lead the way. Let's dive in. But for now, we're going to dive right into our Dare On Empowerment panel. So I'm going to ask actually four questions, and each one of our guests, Melissa, Beth, and Cheldin, will answer each one of those questions for you. So you get insights from different perspectives. And at the very end, you know what's going to happen. You're going to get a dare from each one of them to put you into action so that you can dare on in your life. All right, question number one. There's two parts, and we'll start with Melissa. Can each of you share a time when you faced a fear head on and what helped you push through and what was on the other side? So, what fear have you faced head on? What helped you push through that fear? And then what happened on the other side? What was there? Melissa.
Ah, I would tell you that probably the biggest fear that I had, it happened when I was younger. I got married really young. I had my two children quite young. And in 7 years into marriage, and when I look back, it wasn't really much of a marriage. I realized that I had made a terrible mistake for a number of reasons. And it was back in the 70s, the late 70s.
Yeah.
And not many women were getting divorced then. There was a lot of taboo around the divorce. I knew I needed to do it. I was not financially secure, neither was my husband. And I went ahead with it anyway. It took me a long time to get through the fear, to actually go and file the papers and start it going. And I knew what was going to happen, and what happened actually did happen. And my husband left the area and has never seen his children again.
Wow.
So, my children are now in their 50s. So, this is a long, long time ago. But the fear, I can still conjure up what it felt like in the pit of my stomach, and the worry, and what are people going to think, and how am I going to do this, and how will I pay the bills? But it still was something that I knew that I needed to do. And so I did it. And that was the scariest thing that I've probably ever done in my life. And it worked. I mean, I went through it, and it was awful at times. Financially, it was terrible. And there are a lot of people I know that have been divorced as well that said that was the scariest thing, was how are they going to pay to put food on the table for their
Mhm.
children? So it's scary. But when you have that kind of fear, but you have to do this thing, you have to figure out a way to walk through it. And I think that that's part of it, is knowing that you're not going to die when you go through this fear. Even though you feel like you're dying, you know literally you're not going to die. And somewhere and somehow you're going to get through it and get to the other side. And you might be surprised what's on the other side. So when I finally did that, and when I did go through all of that, it set me up for being a new person, and really challenging myself as to who I am, what I need, what I will put up with, what I will not put up with. And I think that is really the message here, is that nobody needs to be contained in a job or a marriage or any kind of a scenario that isn't good for them. Now,
Mm.
I'm not saying that lightly. I'm not saying that cavalierly.
Oh,
It's, when you're in something that's really not good for you, you need to make a plan to get out. And that's going through the fear to figure that out and how to get there.
I love that.
And, getting to the other side for me made me a new person. Not that I didn't have a lot more growing to do, because I was still young and I still made mistakes with relationships and whatnot, but it set me up for what I was looking for. And years later, when I was 42, I got married, and I'm almost 75 now, and I've been married to the same man for all those years, and it's been wonderful. But I keep looking back at that. What if I hadn't done what I needed to do for myself and my children? What
Yeah.
would my life be like now? I don't know. But the fear that I went through, that I can still feel, was worth it. And there are plenty of ways that you can get support to make your way through that fear.
I love that. Thank you for sharing such a vulnerable story, because that very powerful. All right, Beth, what about you?
Hey, Jody. For me, very similar to Melissa, mine was back in my youth. When I was 18, 19 years old, my mother was having a mental breakdown. She was at the crux of menopause, after hysterectomy, hadn't gotten hormone care, and wasn't dealing well with psychological change as motherhood of I was becoming a young adult, her life was changing, her roles, all of that. I've been there. I'm in that with my own kids, but my mother started to spiral. So there I was in college, commuting and trying to deal with my mother's mental health breakdown as a young adult. And things got violent at one point. She was threatening suicide on a regular basis. So I made a very bold decision at 19, 20, 21, that I needed to save myself because my mother wasn't taking the steps. My father was not effective at facilitating anything and standing up to her. My mother was also very much a narcissist. So it was a combination of all of that. So the moment came when I started to think about my own exit. And I had the wake up call of I am 21, 20 years old. What am I doing? And for me, what got me through that, to stand up to my parents, to say, I am moving out, I am getting a therapist, and I am figuring out how do I set up the boundaries for this relationship. I loved my parents. I didn't want the relationship to end, but we ended up with a 27-year estrangement until my mother passed. My dad died after 5 years of me leaving the house. But what got me through that horrible period was two things. One, my boyfriend, now husband of 31 years, literally said to me one day, I can't stand by and watch you let someone mistreat you. I love you so much, I can't watch this. And he basically was breaking up with me. And I had a choice. Do I want the future of my mother controlling me, manipulating and guilting me, or do I want a future with somebody who loves me that much? So I obviously chose him, but I stood up to them and I made the change in my life. But the thing that worked the most was connection. It was connecting with other people. It was not keeping my pain, my fear, my trauma that I was living in to myself. It was not to disparage my parents or to shame them
Mhm.
by talking about what was happening, but to open up the need that I had for support. And in doing that, I had coworkers who were my mother's age, who brought me on like a daughter. My boyfriend's parents, welcomed me and supported me financially, emotionally. And to this day, the connections was what got me through the pain. And people ask me about the hammer that I wear on my neck, and they think, oh, it's because I'm a fix-it woman. No, I wear the hammer because it's a reminder of connection. Because when you use a hammer to drive a nail into wood, it creates a really lasting bond.
Mm,
So for me, life is all about connecting.
love that. Love that. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. Thank you very much. Powerful story. And then, Sheldon, do I need to repeat the question at this point for you?
No, I think I got it. I think I got it. A hardship and then how I got through it and then where I
And what
am
was on the other side?
on the other side of it. What was on the other side of it? So, one of the quotes I always live by is just because I carry it well doesn't mean it isn't heavy.
Mm,
In so many different ways. And so what a lot of folks don't know, I'm a mother of two in addition to all of those accolades in which you shared. And between my now 14-year-old daughter, Sydney, and my 7-year-old son, Chase, I had lost a child in between. And so on 2014, I had carried a son until 22 weeks. And at that particular point, I was in the midst of creating this. I had created IG Creative, the parent company of This Is It Network, in 2009. I had had a small child at that particular point. I was running around. If you knew me then, you knew, nothing much has changed. Running around, showing up at events, microphone in hand, big smile, lashes, weave, the whole thing, all of that energy. And having to do that without the majority of people knowing what was going on, right? Having to show up not only for myself, but for the community that I had created, for the mission that I wanted to be able to move forward, to the women that surrounded me, right? Feeling obligated to always have that smile on my face, etc. During that time, what I gave myself was grace. What I gave myself was, in fact, time. I said that I am my own boss. I am my own, the carrier of my own load. What I need to do is I need to put it down for a minute.
mm,
It will be there on the other side. And though it was tumultuous and difficult, and now I'm a huge advocate, of course, of women's health. I had to have a DNC and all of the things, right, that go along with that type of procedure and that type of struggle, right? Preparing, right, to have my second child at the time and realizing that that was no longer an option. And then what does that really mean for me moving forward? On the other side of that, on the other side of that was my son who's 7. On the other side of that was a business that I equally birthed. On the other side of that was new relationships. But only if I gave myself grace, only if I gave myself peace and time to grieve, to build, to rebuild, to restructure, to reconnect, to understand that whatever happens to you isn't the final chapter. It's about opening the next chapter and moving forward. Recognizing that, the valley is where lessons live, right?
yes. Yes.
Um, and where connections and bonds are made. And so knowing that I am pretty damn strong
Yeah.
and that I can do really hard things, and be able to equally, come out on the other side. So the benefit of that hardship is to be able to find my strength, but understand the power of peace and the power of giving myself grace and being still. And on the other side is the family that I have now, which is two beautiful and strong children, as well as a growing business. So I hope I answered your question.
Absolutely. All of you did. I mean, there's so much in there, and we'll sum it up at the end, but there's so much in all your stories about whether you knew it consciously or not, the belief and trust that it would be okay somehow. Even if you didn't know how, even if in the moment it was the scariest thing in the world or the hardest or the most traumatic, because there's a lot of trauma in all of the stories as well. So thank you for sharing that because something that Cheldin, you said that I believe in, and the audience, if you missed it, I'm going to say it. You are stronger than you think. You can all do hard things. And we'll get more into some things that have helped us and some ways that we have found that in our own lives here in this panel. So, okay, number 2. Many people feel stuck when it comes to reconnecting with their dreams, especially in the midlife chapter. What's one simple step you recommend to help people start moving toward these dreams, even if they feel a little bit out of reach
Mm.
now? We'll start with Cheldin this time and go backwards.
Absolutely, absolutely. I am a huge component of ensuring that there is evidence of your excellence. I believe that oftentimes we forget how good we are at what we do, and that distracts us, right? We move the carrot, ambitious women, so often that we don't really sit in what we've accomplished, right? We know where we want to go, but we're not celebrating where we've been. If in essence, we're just moving on to the next thing. And I often have to remind myself of myself. I have to reintroduce myself to myself, or I will easily forget her, right? And so I love that as an opportunity for people to say, you left that meeting, they want to underpay you, they don't understand the value, they don't understand where does it live? Where you can sit with yourself about yourself and be like, I did that. I came this far. I accomplished that thing. They may not see it, and frankly, it doesn't matter because I'm going to go into the next opportunity with this evidence of my excellence. So that's one thing that I actively do, and I call it a brag book.
Yeah.
I write down all the things that I do well and things and little accomplishments, and I just keep it with me. And when, again, I leave a meeting, because you won't always get every opportunity that you go up again. Not everybody will understand you or see you clearly or be fluent in your ambition. But that brag book brings me back to center and be like, okay, girl, you got it. So the evidence of your excellence is a tool that I always use.
Absolutely, because we can get so stuck in the having to know what is that next step. And really, if you go back and really reflect on all the things you've accomplished and done really well, maybe not done well, but came out stronger for, oh my God, there's the dream. There's the dream that can realize you. So I love that. Beth, what's your tip? What's one simple step that you can recommend to help people start moving towards those dreams?
Don't wait. I think that's really important. I was recently hosting a radio show in Philadelphia, and I just quit the beginning of January. And I quit because I had lost a relative in November, and it was a wake-up call. And as I sat at her funeral, I realized she was 59 years old and she hadn't fully lived. She hadn't lived up to her potential. And it was just the biggest kick in the rear end that I needed. And I don't want anybody else to have to wait until they lose someone to kind of get that kick in the butt.
You can
But
say ass. It's okay. It's a kick in
okay,
the
you know
ass.
me, Jody. I let things fly.
You can say it. We're
But
bearing on
I
today.
I needed that kick in the ass because I had started an idea for a business over 8 years ago. I had started building prototypes for a product, and I'd had scraps of this thing around my house. 2 years ago, I bought the URL for what I wanted to call it, and I did nothing with it. I let doubt get in the way. What do I know about a product line? What do I know about this? Who's going to want this? All this other crap that I had let into my head. And I had been grieving a lot for the last few years. I've had a lot of loss in the last 6 years. And I was carrying so much of it. And after my cousin died, it was like, why am I holding on to this shit? It's time to let it go and step into who I'm supposed to be. And I've decided that I need to live big enough for Denise and me. And so now I'm taking those action steps. I'm launching a product. I've gotten a trademark.
You
I
are.
have it out at manufacturers. Jody's been a big fan and a supporter, but I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I'm doing it anyway. And I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to connect. I'm going to rely on other people who can help me do this and stop thinking that I can figure it all out on my own or I have to. As much as I'm a DIYer and I'm like, I got this. I have that sign over there that says doing it yourself doesn't mean doing it alone.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you. So I love that. Sometimes life hits and that's enough of a wake-up call, right? Sometimes. So pay attention. Look, I can't stop with the toilet coffee mug. We're moving on. All right. Oh my God, can't stop. We'll talk about that in a minute. Melissa Davey,
Oh,
what's
yes.
one simple step you can recommend for people to start moving towards those dreams if they're stuck, if they're just feeling
Mhm.
like that dream's a little far out of reach or maybe unknown?
Mhm. I think that people need to make, it's very simple, make a list.
Yep.
Make a list of all of the things that you have fantasized about your entire life. The dream of, being an actress, being a firewoman, playing an instrument, whatever it is that you're not doing. And why did that end up on your list? Why are those items on your list? And sit there with the list and say, even though I've been on this long train ride, in my realm, it was a big, huge corporate job. And before I knew it, I was 65. And that's when I made my list. I waited a long time. And it's not that I wasn't having fun or I wasn't doing good things or whatever, but at 65, it hit me smack in the face that, holy shit, you don't have that much time left on Earth. So what are you doing? I could have stayed. There was no ageism in the company I was in. But I started to make lists because I knew I was done. I had built a huge career, built a division of a national company. It was doing well. I could do it in my sleep, but I was kind of bored. So at 65, it was make that list. Saxophone, well, I really want to be in a band and play a saxophone. I still do. But I don't read music. So it's kind of like, well, that's probably, let's put that over here on the list.
Okay.
Film kept coming to the top. And I finally had that conversation. If you've been so interested in film since you were 9 and now you're 65, why haven't you done anything about it? And then there were all these answers. Well, I'm not trained in film. But then I went back to, well, I wasn't really trained to do what I just did in this corporate job. I figured it out as I went along.
Yeah.
And I know myself well enough now to know what my strengths are. And I know that I can figure out anything as long as I put the right team around me. So that's when at 65, I said, I'm going to quit my job and become a filmmaker. And I did. And now, 9 years later, with 2 films under my belt, I realized, holy crap, why did I wait so long? But then again, I don't go into that too
No,
much because the timing was just right for me.
I
And the
believe
timing, yeah, the timing was absolutely right for me. And so make the list. Make the
make the
list.
list. I do have to do. So each one of these amazing, extraordinary women you're seeing here right now talking to you have all been a guest on the show on Beyond Empty Nest individually. And I'm going to link to those episodes because they go deeper into their story. But Melissa, I have to ask you to just share one little brief bit about your story. Because when you said, oh my God, I'm closer to the end of my life, like I'm running out of time, there was somebody very influential. And you don't have to go into the whole story of how it happened. I'll share the story. But tell the person who you had the opportunity to just stand with on a recording set, and then sit and have a conversation and what he said to you.
Out of the blue, because I took a detour, I bumped into M. Night Shyamalan and I started bidding on this thing and to win a day on the set with him. I won it. I was with him 10 hours. It was a 10-hour day. And he had me behind the camera with him. And this is right when I was 65 thinking about film. Like this all was a weird happening. The gods came down. And so he said to me at lunch, what do you do for work? Because, yeah, I said, well, I tried to explain to this guy that had only made films of the corporate job, and he kind of glazed over and he goes, well, what do you really want to do? And I said, oh, that's easy. I want your job. And he said, well, you better hurry up. And it was that day, and he was kidding, but it was that I felt like bricks hit me. And it was that day at age 65, when I had been thinking about film, that I said, he's absolutely right. What am I waiting for? And that was the next day that I went in and gave my notice.
Mhm. Love
Yeah,
it. Right? Crazy story. And I, on
crazy.
the heels of that, and I'm going to get to question number 3 in a minute, but I need to share. I had a very similar moment, Melissa. I was invited to my very first ever This Is It Network Scream Your Dream conference in Manayunk, Pennsylvania, which is Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Cheldin was hosting. I met her. I went to I met amazing women to this day that I collaborate with. But it was from there that I was invited, that Cheldin gave me the platform. Come on, This Is It TV. Come on and share about Moms Who Dare and all you do. And I sat there, went to her studio. It was It was Cheldin and her production crew, and we're sitting there and we did our episode and we talked. It was so much fun. It was so exciting. And I'm looking around her production studio and there's a card that says, "Work with us. Let us help you produce your show." And I just took the stuff. I leave. I go down into my car and I sit there. I'm like, I want to do that.
Hmm.
I want a video
Hmm.
talk show. I want to do what Sheldon's doing. I want Sheldon to mentor me and teach me how to do it. I picked up the phone from my car. She's like, "Did you forget something? Hi, what's up?" I'm like, "Yeah, I didn't forget anything." But I think I might have even said, "I'm ready to scream my dream. I want to do what you're doing, what you just did for me now, and I want you to teach me how to do it." And my first show, this in the Nest with Jodi, was birthed to use
Wow.
Sheldon's, and she helped me. She produced it. She shared with me tips and tricks on how to do it. And now I'm have a podcast. So yeah, sometimes when you're ready, when you're thinking, when you feel, and that's stuck, when you feel stuck, that means you're ready for something.
Hmm.
Allow the signs to be shown to you because you all had signs shown to you
Yep.
in some way. All
Absolutely.
right. I had to share that. All right. Question three. So I use this phrase a lot, and we hear it a lot in the personal growth world, living your best life. Live your best life. I dare women to step out of the comfort zones to live their best life. And that sounds really fun and powerful. And you're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. So the question is, how do you each really define living your best life? Like, what does living your best life really mean to you? Because listeners are like, I'm tired, we get tired of hearing certain buzzwords, buzz phrases, and living your best life could be one of those. Like, that's great, but what does it actually mean? And what changes, keep this like maybe 1 or 2 cents. What changes or change did you have to make to start living in alignment with the vision of what's your best life? All right, I'm gonna start with Beth this time.
Oh boy, this question's a little tougher. Living your best life. For me, and we're moms, and because we're moms and we're women, we've been conditioned that we do for others, and that is a good badge of honor that we take care of other people. I was a nurse, I took care of people. I was a mother of three boys, took care of different kind of needy people, but needy people. Um, and now teaching women how to manage their home. For me, living my best life has been accepting that I will not tolerate um, being mistreated, that I will not tolerate the bullshit from anyone who does not want to lift or carry me in their life. When you grow up with a narcissistic parent and someone who turns on you at 20 and questions your worth, you start to question your own worth for the rest of your freaking life. And I still do. So if I find those people in my life that don't lift me or want to add and pull me down, I love the song Defying Gravity, you know, um,
Yes, I
but
love
Oh, so for me, it's living my best life is constantly keeping in check of does this lift me or move me? Because if it doesn't, I don't have time for it.
That's a mic drop. Does this lift me or move me? And that's exactly that's a wonderful way to share what that means for you. All right, Melissa Davey, you're up.
Yeah. Living my best life means doing what I'm supposed to be doing. That is, you know, and finally figuring that out is like such a release and a relief to know that you don't have to be on a prescribed path in your life. You might need to be for a while. Maybe you need that for financial reasons or whatever. But when you finally figure out what your creativity is,
Mhm.
what you can create in the world that will make you live your best life and feel like you're living it every day. That's, and that happened to me when I changed into filmmaking and became a filmmaker. And the thing that really struck me, and Beth, you said it as well, it's the people that are around you.
Mm.
Sometimes the people that are around you don't serve you when you make that change. And it became very, very clear to me who was going to come along with me on that ride and who was going to be left behind. And not in a negative way, just a natural separation. And now living my best life not only includes making films and doing wonderful things with women over the age of 50, 60, etc., but surrounding myself with people who lift me up, who support me and tell me what I'm doing is meaningful. That kind of support is so, so necessary. And that's how I met you, Jodi, and the
Yeah.
333 people, and
Ah, right.
all of these women who have come along and really buoyed me over the last few years, really helped me live that wonderful life that I'm living.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And Cheldin, how do you
Yeah.
define what living your best life is all about?
I think it really echoes what these remarkable women are saying, but it is really about being surrounded by people who hear and see you differently, that are fluent in your ambition. They're not the same as you, but they allow for you to be good at where it is you are and what it is that you are doing. I come from a large West African family full of academics who still don't understand why I talk to myself on my phone, right? On a regular basis, right? And so I really subscribe to not faking it till you make it and being authentic in the time and not pretending to be someone else because that is exhausting, right? For anybody out there who knows actors, right? They get off the stage, whether they're the leads within the play or they're tree number three, they're exhausted in pretending to be something or someone else. And so when I'm living my best life, I am authentically me, surrounded by people who need and want that. And I think that spending so much time in your life wanting to be in rooms, right? Wanting to gain attention, wanting people to like you. I am a people pleaser. But putting that down and just really like who already gets me? What are rooms that in which I don't have to lift such a heavy load? What are rooms that I get to just be who it is that I am? And so that's when I'm living my best life, surrounded by my family that sees me clearly, even though we don't always agree or we don't do the same thing. So important to me. And that's when I live my best life. And of course, my little people that I've created and seeing the effect of the effort that I've made on their lives as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Jodi, just to kind of summarize what I think we all said is you need to find your ride and die. You need to find your tribe of people, and that is when you start living your best life, is when you get those people that appreciate you for who you are and are able to walk with you on that journey, even though you might be a few steps, ahead or behind one another, but people who truly get where you're going.
I thank you for saying that because the final question had to do with community, but you've all touched on it. You've all really touched on it. And I know that Cheldin, I've heard her. I've been in the room live when she talked about who's in your huddle. I have who's on your team. And it's important. And for those of you that are wondering, I'm going to offer a little bit insight here on, okay, that sounds great, but how do I find my team? First of all, there's a podcast episode that I recorded all about who's on your team and how to find it. We'll link to that. But it's about, first of all, and first off, understanding who you are, who you are. And Cheldin says this too. She says, make sure that you question, am I in the right room? Am I where I belong? Because sometimes we could put ourselves where we might not belong. I heard that once a year ago. I thought to myself, there's a couple places where, why am I there? After I heard Cheldin say that. I'm like, why am I there? I don't need to be there. Somebody else can step into my seat because they're better off there. So understanding who you are, what you need, asking yourself, when I'm with this person or in this group or in this room, how do I feel? Do I feel uplifted? Do I feel anxious? Do I feel drained? And then get curious about why you're feeling those emotions. Because are you feeling anxious and drained because you don't feel worthy? That's an internal job.
That's an internal job. But if you're constantly surrounding yourself with people who say things and do things that knock you down versus lifting you up, get up and walk out. You will find the right people because in this journey, the role of community, each one of you has said it. You have found people. Melissa found people to fill in the gaps of what she didn't know about filmmaking. Beth found people to validate her that you don't deserve or need to be treated a certain way. And I'm here to tell you, I'm right here to catch you and move with you if you don't want to be treated that way. Cheldin found the people that would support her dream, but also be there when she gave herself grace and time out from what she needed to do. I have found my people by putting it out there and being authentic. And that's the important relationships and support systems are a key component of this, but it all does come back to starting with you, starting with understanding you and loving on yourself. So thank you all so much. You shared so much of yourselves that being vulnerable was not a problem here. And I really do believe wholeheartedly and was super excited about this episode because I know the listeners are feeling empowered, are feeling less alone, less like their story is only their story and nobody else feels that way. Because you've each shared very unique stories that I know somebody out there will see themselves in. Before we get to the big leave a dare part, because you all have to give a dare. I want a dare that will, and it can be anything. Look, dare on. I have these cards. And on the back, it tells you what it can mean for you. But I want you first, when you turn this off, to think about dare on. And what's the first thing that comes up for you? In your mind, what do you feel when you hear these words? But if you do embrace dare on, it can allow you to dream again, face your fears, give you that strength to persevere and move you into inspired action. So, Melissa, do you have a dare? Everyone's like, who's calling on first? Who's calling? Melissa, do you have a dare for the audience, for the listeners?
Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
I do.
Right?
I dare people to take detours. I dare everyone watching to look at yourself and really judge yourself about how you move during the day. Do you always go the same way to work? Do you always go to the same restaurants? Do you always do this, do that? I dare you to go way out of your way. But when you're doing that, you need to keep your eyes open and look and see what you see. You might want to stop and check that out, just like Jodi saw the card on the table when she was with you. I saw this film being made and pressed the button for charity buzz and ended up on a movie set. But if I hadn't taken a detour that day, if Jodi hadn't gone to that meeting that day and left her eyes open, she wouldn't have encountered that. And she might not be sitting here doing this. And I might not be sitting here telling you I have 2 films done and getting ready to do a third one. So you take detours all the time and leave your eyes open.
Dare to take detours with your eyes wide open. Love that. Love that, Melissa. All right, Beth, what would your dare be for the listeners today?
My dare is going to be a little more practical than psychological. I want to dare every woman that is listening here to get into a relationship, it may be a new relationship, with their home. And I tell you that because our home is our biggest investment of our lives. And there are too many women who defer the management and the function of their home to someone else. And as a registered nurse, I will also tell you that we do that too often with our health. So our person, our health, our home, these are the core things that give us what I believe is the number one thing that we want in life, which is security. And if we don't have security in our lives, to feel safe at night, to feel we have that place of comfort and sanctuary that we can thrive, then we don't have what we need. So I want you to have that relationship with your home. And I know for a lot of women that's scary because we've been conditioned we defer that to the guys in our life, which is total bullshit. Because if we can give birth to a human, we can fix a toilet, okay? Like none of this bullshit. So what I suggest is we start small and we investigate, where is my circuit breaker box? Where is my water shut off? What are the basic things that make my house function so that I have some onus and I have some confidence? Because like Melissa said, when you're diving into something new and you take a detour, you question yourself. So detour around your house and get to learn how your house works and become a partner and get into that relationship. Because when that confidence builds, in being able to handle, oh my God, I have a leak, but I knew what to do. And I can either fix it in the moment or I know I have to call the pro. Your confidence starts to build, not just as a homeowner, but as a woman.
Mm.
And you start to believe in yourself. And like Cheldin said, you start to write that, I know how to do X, Y, and Z. So start that relationship because it'll benefit you financially as well as emotionally in the long run.
I love it. I heard dare to build emotional security by having a relationship with your home. And we will outlet. That's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Beth. All right. Cheldin, the dare.
I dare you to ask. The majority of us know what we need, but refuse to ask for it. We know what we need, but refuse to share it. People cannot buy what they cannot find. People cannot promote what they cannot see, right? And I think that so often, as the ambitious women that we are, our heads are down for so long, tweaking and making and doing the thing, only to raise our heads up and be like, I don't have the resource to keep tweaking and doing the thing. And my sister asked me years ago, and I never forgot it. I was like, oh, I didn't make budget this month, or, I didn't sell enough advertising. She's like, who did you ask for money? No one. Who'd you ask for money yesterday? No one. Who'd you ask for money last week? No one. It's not going to manifest itself, right? And often, so many times, we're doing such a good job doing that people don't think we need help, right? We're doing such a good job. We're showing up, we're smiling, we're dialing, we're showing up on sets, we're showing up to help everyone else, that we're the last person that anyone offers a hand to. So we have to remind people of what it is that we need and what it is that can help us get ourselves to the next level. So often we're not doing that. We're too busy doing, and we're not asking enough in order to help us get to the next level. So I just dare you all to ask for what you need. When somebody says, how can I help you? Don't say, oh, I'm fine, or let me think about it. Really hold those asks. Oh, I'd love for you to share my page, or it'd be wonderful if you know of any small investors that could be part of my film, or, I'd really love for you to refer guests to my show. And I hold those asks just like I hold my name, my phone number, my email, right? So when the opportunity presents itself, I'm there with what I need so I can get closer to what I deserve.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I mean, my gosh, right? If Cheldin, Melissa, and Beth haven't proven that you can move forward at any age, even through fear and doubt and the unknown, I don't know what will. You now have 3 dares, one from each of them. And now it's my turn to dare you. I dare you to make a list of your dreams. Those dreams you tucked away, told yourself were silly, or put on hold for a someday. Then go back and look at the list. Really look at it. And pick that one dream that sparks something inside of you and start taking bold, daring action to bring it to life. Dare number 2, check out the Dare On community. Why? Because we are a group of midlife women learning, growing, and cheering each other on. If this episode has taught you anything, it's this. Who you surround yourself with matters. You don't have to do this next chapter alone, and honestly, you shouldn't. That's exactly why I created this one-of-a-kind membership space. Come, take a look around with the link in the show notes. I'll be waiting to welcome you. Let's dare on together. See you inside.